her time to be with us in Kolkata. She has a really packed program, and I think all of you who are familiar with her schedule would know that it has taken her a considerable amount of flexibility and determination and some persuasion on our part, I must add, to be able to get her to come here. Thank you very much, madam, for being here. Please give her a very, very warm.
আমি মার্জনা চেয়ে দিচ্ছি। আমরা প্রথমেই বন্দে মাতরমের মাধ্যমে আমাদের এই অনুষ্ঠানের সূচনা করব। যারা সঙ্গীত পরিবেশন করবেন তাদেরকে মঞ্চে আসার জন্য আহ্বান জানাচ্ছি।
Let me first start with thanking Swapanda Gupta for having made it possible for me to be here. And I feel sad that I couldn't hear more from Ashok Lekri. I've always had great value for his comments and talking about East and its contribution to Vikshit Bharat. There couldn't have been a better speaker than him. I would love to hear him. But thanks for the little opening, and I'm sure there will be opportunities for me to hear you more on this topic. And of course, Tathagata Roy, former governor, I thank him for being here and giving us the strength in the dais. And for this wonderful audience, pardon me, I certainly cannot speak in Bengali, although I enjoy hearing it. So I will largely be speaking in English. There and here, if you permit me, I can utter some sentences in Hindi. Not that that's my forte, but still I'll try to do it. We are talking on Vikshit Bharat. We are talking on East India. It's not for the first time. You will see him putting his hand up saying, this part of India, literally showing the eastern side, which, as was very nicely described, the geography is Orissa, Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, largely remaining where they are, and some details with me, I can share it with you. But PM constantly says, unless we pick these states up and make sure that they move forward along with us, India's growth story is never going to happen. And therefore the emphasis on eastern state has been there from 14 till now. And when we are talking about Vikshit Bharat 2047, I've used the language in the budget of this time, the interim budget, that Eastern India is going to be the engine of growth. So it's not as if I'm standing before you and saying it, it is apart from my budget speech language. Unless the engine is going to move and in full force, the rest of the bogies cannot move. So that is the kind of emphasis we are placing for Eastern India. Just for setting the background, Vikshit Bharat, what are those groups which we are going to focus on? I'll come to the sectors that we focus on a bit later. What are those 4 groups? We have made it very clear in several of his speeches, particularly the one which he spoke in 2023, August 15 from Red Fort. In a country where you're constantly referring to a whole lot of other divisionary elements, he said, look, I'm looking at India for development through the eyes of women, through the eyes of the poor, through the eyes of our Juva, as you would say, Yuva. And I'm looking at it from the eyes of Annadanta, the Krishak. And these are the 4 for whom I have to do everything to make sure they are equally rising as India would rise. And in his mind picture, if these 4 groups are rising, you would address every regional, religious, caste, rural, urban, upper class, middle class, all that would be addressed. These are the four for development purposes. Caste is not an Indian word. But if you want the comfort of that word, these are the four castes we have to focus on and pull them up from where they are for higher and higher development. Now, if that is the picture with which you're looking at Vikshit Bharat, I'm not going to go into the larger other issues. So what are the sectors that we're placing emphasis on to reach that goal of development 2047? Of course, I can quickly rustle up 4 or 5 sectors. Space is one, artificial intelligence is another, technology, and technology for every other sector as well. Logistics, India has not utilized. I mean, the very fact that you had Ashok Lahiri tell me, take this road for a 550 kilometers, you will be spending more than 12 hours, says where our logistics is not just the road connectivity. On the way, is there enough space for the trucks to get parked? Is there enough storage for those export commodities to hold on till they reach the port? Are there enough connections to communicate? Are your internets working fine? All these are also part of your logistics, and for which PM Gati Shakti is a very strong tool through which you can achieve. So you can say agriculture value addition. Again, East has not been part of the Green Revolution, but do we know whether we are working on the productivity per acre? Do we know whether the productivity is efficiently arrived at? What is the efficiency in quotient when you're talking about agriculture? The disguised unemployment problem, disguised employment actually, which is unemployment problem. So there are enough and more. Tourism, Bengal can make, if Kerala could talk about God's own country, I would think Bengal is the blessed land. And they don't make much of our tourism here. So we can sectorally see where we can place emphasis, give legislative support, make sure those due diligences that you have to follow are all minimized and take you forward. But before I go into that detail, I just want to highlight some of the things about Eastern India. I said we are looking at it going to be the growth drivers, you're the engine. I've also very clearly said that for India as a whole, even some of the best developed states do have within them some blocks or districts which are not adequately developed. And that is why nearly 2016 or 17 Prime Minister came up with a list of aspirational districts. Aspirational was a name given only because the intent was noble. We didn't want to point out saying underdeveloped, not developed, backward. No. Even the name was, you aspire to want to be better, so you're an aspirational district for me. 112 of them all over the country. I'll start with the sob story from now on. In this, 42 of the 112 aspirational districts, and before I go to the sob story, the 112 aspirational districts, because monthly Prime Minister sits on a video conference mode called Pragati and addresses at the district level with the district officials saying, tell me where you're stopping, tell me where the hindrances are, tell me where you're not able to move forward, tell me why your hospitals are not all right, tell me if your teachers are there, tell me, so on. Directly PM through Pragati talks to these 112 districts.